He swore he heard it breathing, something beneath the floor of his childhood home. But when he finally pried the boards up, what he found shouldn't have been alive. Stay till the twist. The house had never been truly silent, even in the deep of night, when all lights were off and his father's whiskey snores echoed from the next room. There had been something beneath it. A hum, a hiss, a scratch or a sigh. Greg remembered hearing it as a boy, lying in his twin bed in that frigid upstairs room, listening for the creaks that weren't footsteps and the breath that wasn't his. He had left at 18 and never looked back. A scholarship, a job, a life that didn't involve peeling wallpaper and the scent of sour bourbon. Now, 22 years later, the house was his, or rather, the responsibility of it. His father had died the way Greg always assumed he would, alone and face down on the kitchen floor, his liver turned to dust. Greg only came back because the realtor couldn't sell the place without clearing it out. The house looked like it was wilting. Gray siding curled away like sunburnt skin. The front steps sagged. Inside, the air was sour and thick with dust. He stood in the living room with a garbage bag in one hand and the keys in the other. A draft crept over his ankles. And then, he heard it. Soft. So soft it could have been his imagination. But it wasn't. He knew it too well. A breath. Long, slow, almost sad. A breath from beneath the floor. He froze. His eyes scanned the room. The old radiator. The sagging couch. The framed photo of a man and a boy fishing, both with sunburned faces and forced smiles. And beneath it all, under the ancient floorboards that groaned when you stepped too hard, was the sound again. He dropped the bag. "No," he said aloud, as if to silence it. "No, I'm not doing this." He slept that night in his rental car in the driveway, staring at the porch light like it was a lifeline. But the sound carried even through the glass and steel. It never grew louder. Just steady. Just real enough. The next morning he went back inside, opening windows to air the place out. He tossed old magazines into garbage bags, scraped mold from the fridge, pulled rotten curtains from their rods. Every step felt heavier. Every room echoed the breath beneath. He tore up the carpet in the living room. It came away easy, too easy, as if the glue had given up years ago. The floorboards were warped, stained black in places. He pressed his ear to the ground. The breath was there, louder now, like something sleeping. Deep, regular inhales. He pressed harder. The wood was warm. He pulled back. That night, he sat on the porch with a bottle of water and an axe. Just sat, watching the windows, listening to the quiet, not quiet within. A neighbor walked past with a dog that barked at the porch steps. The man nodded, gave Greg a wary look. "Been hearing things," Greg called out, half joking. The neighbor paused. "Old houses do that. You lived here long? Whole life? Ever hear?" Greg hesitated. "Like something in the house?" The man scratched his head. "Nope. But your dad said he did. Swore the place breathed." Greg stared at him. "Did he ever, do anything about it?" "Dug in the crawl space once," the man said, glancing at the house. "Nailed it shut after. Didn't talk about it. Started drinking worse after that, though." Greg didn't sleep that night. By morning, he had moved the couch, pulled the nails from the boards, and started to pry them up. The breath grew louder with each one, not faster, not urgent, just patient, waiting. The boards came loose easy. Beneath them was a thin layer of packed dirt. He ran his hands over it, dry, cold. The breath now sounded like it was just beneath the surface. He got a trowel from the shed. An inch down, he hit something soft. He yanked his hand back. Waited. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. He dug again. Deeper. This time. And there, something pale, flesh-like. He scraped away more dirt. A face, not decomposed. Eyes closed, mouth slightly open. Skin smooth and unwrinkled, like wax. But not wax. It was breathing. He stumbled back, fell on his ass. The breath remained steady. He called the police. They came. 2 men in uniform. He led them in, pointed to the hole in the floor. They knelt, examined the face. "Where's the rest of the body?" one asked. "I don't know," Greg said. "I didn't dig farther. They brought in a forensic team. No body, just the head. The neck tapered into nothing. No blood, no bone, no stump. Just skin, continuing into the soil. Alive. Breathing." One of the cops made a joke. Something about Dune. No one laughed. The head was removed. Not by Greg. He stood outside while they used gloves and tools and buckets. It was taken to a lab. Greg wasn't told where. That night the breathing was louder, even with the head gone. He didn't go inside. He drove to a motel 2 towns over and stayed up watching reruns. But every time the volume dipped, he could hear it. In his head. Or maybe in his chest. That slow inhale. The next day, he returned to the house. The hole in the floor was still there. He knelt beside it, dug again. An ear. Left side, just beneath the surface. He didn't scream. He didn't call anyone. He covered it up and left. Back at the motel, he tried to call his brother. Voicemail. His brother hadn't stepped foot in the house since they were teenagers. Said he had dreams about it. Bad ones. Greg had dreams too. That night, he dreamed of a mouth in the earth. Not shouting, not whispering, just moving. Forming words that made no sound. He woke with dirt under his fingernails. He returned the next morning. He brought a shovel. He didn't stop digging for hours. By noon, he had unearthed a shoulder, a hand, part of a rib cage, all disconnected. No blood. Just fragments of a man that shouldn't have been there. The skin was still warm, still breathing. He covered them all back up. He went into the kitchen and opened a bottle of his father's whiskey. Sat in the dark, drinking, listening. He called the lab where they had taken the head, demanded answers. They told him the head had decomposed overnight. Time-lapsed decay. Impossible, but documented. They assumed it had been embalmed or preserved in some strange way. But Greg had touched it. It had breathed. He started hearing other things, voices, not words, cadences, familiar ones, laughter that sounded like his father's, sobs that sounded like his own. He stopped sleeping. The dreams got worse. In one, he was buried alive, but not alone. The earth was soft, wet, full of limbs. They clutched at him. A mouth kissed his ear, whispered in a voice that wasn't a voice, "Let me out." He woke with dirt in his teeth. He went back to the hole, dug deeper. Beneath the ribs, he found a chest, not a box, a torso. It rose and fell. There was no heart, no organs, just space, a cavity. Inside it, a tongue, curled like a sleeping animal. He left it, there. He started sleeping in the living room, next to the hole. He kept the lights off. The breath was his lullaby. He called his brother again. This time, he answered. "Have you heard it?" Greg asked. A pause. "Don't start." "You remember it, though." "I remember Dad screaming into the floor. I found something," Greg said. "Parts of a man. Still alive. Still breathing." His brother hung up. Greg didn't blame him. He tore up more of the floor. The breathing followed. Always there. Always just beneath. Then he found the door. Beneath. The boards in the hallway, he uncovered metal, rusted hinges, a handle. A trapdoor, sealed with nails, coated in soot. He pried it open. Stairs. He descended with a flashlight. The space below wasn't a basement. It was a tunnel, dug by hand. Walls of packed dirt, no supports, just earth. The breath was louder there, constant, like being inside a lung. He walked for 10 minutes before finding the first light bulb. It flickered on as he approached, then another, and another, a string of them disappearing into the darkness. At the end of the tunnel, he found a room, square, dirt walls, a single chair in the center, and on it, his father, or something wearing. His father's face. He stared at it. It stared back. The mouth didn't move, but he heard it anyway. "You came back." The voice was thick, wet, like someone speaking underwater. "You're dead," Greg said. "Not here," it replied. "Not under." He turned and ran. He slept in the car again. When he woke, the windshield was fogged from the inside. He turned on the defroster and saw handprints on the glass. That night, he didn't sleep. He wrote a letter. To no one. To himself. To whoever came after. It read, "The house is not a house. It's a throat, a body. It breathes because it's alive. I've seen its organs, heard its voice. My father fed it. I think I am too." He left the letter on the floor, next to the hole, and then he returned to the tunnel. This time he brought a lantern. The chair was empty. He kept going. Beyond the room was another hallway, this one narrower. The walls pulsed slightly. Moisture clung to them. The ground was soft beneath his feet, like flesh. He found more rooms, each with a chair, each empty, except the last. The last had him in it, not asleep, not dead, just staring. Greg froze. The other Greg blinked. "Don't run," it said. "Who are you?" Greg asked. "I'm what you left here. I didn't leave anything. You did. When you ran. When you forgot." "I stayed. I remembered." Greg backed away. The other Greg stood. "I'm not angry," it said. "Just tired. It's hard, breathing for two." Then it split. Not down the middle. Not like paper, like skin. Peeling open, revealing layers. Inside was a mass of mouths, all silent. All mouthing one thing, "Let me out." Greg ran. The lights blinked out behind him. He reached the stairs, slammed the trapdoor shut, nailed it closed, covered it with boards, then the couch, then a bookshelf. He sat on top of it all, sweating. The breath didn't stop. It's louder now, constant. He doesn't leave the house anymore. He eats little, sleeps even less. The breath is inside him. It moves when he moves. It stops when he freezes. Sometimes it hiccups. There's something in his chest now, something curled and growing. He writes in a journal, says the walls are softer than they used to be, says the floor is rising. He's afraid to dig again. Afraid. He'll find something with his own hands, his own face. He dreams of the tunnel. But now, he never makes it out. Something in the darkness calls him deeper. Something he knows. Something he's becoming. And beneath it all, always, the sound. The sound under the floorboards. It never stops. There's something wrong with the apartment below mine. I can hear it every night when the walls sigh and the pipes stutter like dying lungs. Stay till the twist. The first time I heard the noise, I was sure it was just the usual groaning of an old building. But as the days wore on, the creaks and moans became voices, and I was certain I wasn't imagining them. I moved in 2 months ago, fresh out of college and desperate to start my new life in the city. The landlord was a wiry man with skin that looked like paper left in the rain. He handed me the keys with a warning smile, but said nothing about what lay below. The apartment was small but livable. 1 bedroom, a kitchen that barely fit a table, and a bathroom that smelled faintly of bleach. I told myself it was fine, but from the first night, I knew it wasn't. As I lay in bed, I could hear footsteps echoing from the apartment below. Not a normal tread, no. These steps were deliberate and heavy, as if someone was pacing in circles. Back and forth, back and forth. At first, I thought it was a neighbor who worked nights. But when I asked the landlord, his smile froze and he said, "No one's lived down there for years." I laughed it off, though my laughter felt thin in my throat. The footsteps continued, and I began to dread the nights. They always started at midnight, like a ritual. Sometimes I heard whispering, faint and desperate, as if someone was begging for release. I tried to ignore it, stuffing pillows over my head, but it only grew louder. My friends thought I was being paranoid. "Old buildings make noises," they said. "Don't let it get to you." But I knew what I was hearing. I started recording the sounds on my phone, but every time I played them back, it was only static. The idea that it was all in my head took root, twisting through my thoughts. Like a creeping vine, I stopped inviting people over. I didn't want them to hear it too, to confirm that I wasn't alone in my madness. One night, I decided to knock on the door below. Maybe if I confronted it, it would stop. I crept down the stairs, each step a drumbeat of dread. The door, too. The apartment below was dark, the number on it rusted and hanging by a single nail. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time, and the door creaked open. A cold breath of air touched my face, carrying with it a scent of rot and mold. "Hello?" I whispered. The apartment was empty. Dust coated everything, turning it into a tomb of forgotten furniture. A single chair sat in the center of the living room, facing the window, and in that chair was a man. His head was bowed, and I could see only the top of his balding scalp. His skin was gray and sunken, and he didn't move when I entered. "Sir?" My voice cracked. I stepped closer. His hands were folded in his lap, the fingers long and bone-thin. I reached out, and he looked up. His eyes were black pits, not just dark, but empty, like holes cut out of paper. His mouth opened, and he made a sound that wasn't quite human, a low, rattling gasp that vibrated through the walls. I stumbled back, tripping over a broken floorboard, and fled up the stairs, slamming my door behind me. I didn't sleep that night. When I finally closed my eyes, I dreamed of those empty eyes staring into me, peeling back my mind layer by layer. The landlord knocked on my door the next day. He looked concerned, but there was a tightness in his jaw. "You shouldn't have gone down there," he said. "It's dangerous." "What do you mean?" I demanded. "Who was that man?" He didn't answer. He only repeated, "Stay away." But I couldn't. The man below haunted me. I started hearing him in my own apartment. At night, I'd wake to find the air thick and heavy, as if the walls themselves were breathing. Shadows stretched across the ceiling, forming shapes I didn't want to name. The man's whispering grew clearer, crawling into my skull. I stopped leaving my apartment. The world outside felt too bright, too real, and I was afraid I'd bring whatever was below with me. My friends stopped calling. My job let me go when I didn't show up for a week. I didn't care. All that mattered was the man below and the things he was trying to tell me. One night, the whispering turned to words. They slithered through the floorboards and into my ears. "Come down," he said. "Come down and see." I knew I shouldn't, but the compulsion was too strong. I crept down the stairs, barefoot and shivering. The door was open again, waiting for me. I stepped inside, and the world shifted. The apartment was alive. The walls pulsed with a heartbeat I could feel in my teeth. The man in the chair looked up, his black eyes gleaming. "You hear it too," he said. His voice was like dry leaves rustling. "The truth below." "What truth?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. He smiled, his teeth yellow and cracked. "We're all part of it. The building feeds on us, grows stronger with each breath we take. You hear it because you're meant to." "I don't understand." "You will." He rose from the chair, his movements jerky and unnatural like a puppet with tangled strings. He reached out a hand and I took it. His skin was cold and clammy, but I couldn't pull away. He led me to the center of the room where the floorboards were warped and discolored. "Listen," he said. I knelt down, pressing my ear to the floor. At first there was only silence. Then I heard it. A chorus of voices, hundreds of them, all speaking at once, pleading, screaming, laughing. The sound seeped into me, filling the hollow spaces in my soul. I tried to pull back, but he held me there. "They're trapped," he said. "We're all trapped. The building takes us one by one." "Why me?" I gasped. "Because you're listening." I tore free and ran back up to my apartment. I locked the door and shoved a chair under the knob, though I knew it wouldn't stop him. The voices echoed in my mind, a constant maddening hum. I stopped eating. I stopped showering. My reflection in the mirror was a stranger, eyes sunken and wild. I didn't care. All I cared about was the man below and the truth he had shown me. Days passed, though I lost track of how many. Time had no meaning anymore. The world outside the building was gone, replaced by the pulsing, breathing walls. I lay in bed, listening to the voices, and I understood. The building was alive, a parasite that fed on the souls of those who lived within it. The man below was only the latest victim, and soon I would be too. One night, I felt the floor beneath me crack and buckle. A hole yawned open, and I saw darkness beyond. The man below was waiting, his hand outstretched. "Come down," he whispered. I didn't resist. I let the floor swallow me, pulling me into the darkness. As I fell, I heard the voices rise in a final triumphant chorus. I woke in my bed, sweating and shaking. Sunlight streamed through the window, and for a moment I thought it had all been a dream. But the walls still pulsed, and I knew the building wasn't done with me. The landlord came to see me again. He looked at me with those pale, knowing eyes. "You went down there, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He sighed. "It's too late for you now. The building has you." "What is it?" I asked. "What's down there?" He hesitated, then said, "It's hunger. Endless and patient. It feeds on loneliness and fear. It calls to those who are already hollow inside. And the man below? He was like you, someone who heard the voices and couldn't turn away. I wanted to scream at him, to demand he fix it, but I saw in his eyes that he was as much a prisoner as I was. He left without another word, and I knew I was alone. That night, I tried to leave. I packed a bag and ran for the door, but the hallway stretched on, a labyrinth with no end. Every door I opened led back to my apartment, the man below's voice growing louder with every step. "Come down," he crooned. "Come down and join us." I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. The walls closed in, breathing in sync with my ragged gasps. Days blurred together. I stopped keeping track. The man below visited me in my dreams, sitting in his chair and smiling with those black, empty eyes. "You're almost ready," he said. "For what?" I asked. "To become part of the building. To feed it, like I did." I woke to find the floorboards shifting, forming patterns that looked like runes. My hands bled as I traced them, though I didn't remember doing it. I was losing myself, piece by piece, and the man below was there to catch each fragment. One night, I woke to find him standing at the foot of my bed. His skin was cracked and peeling, revealing the darkness beneath. "It's time," he said. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. He reached out, and I felt my mind splinter. The next morning, the landlord knocked again. He didn't bother coming in. He only pressed his ear to the door and listened. "He's gone," he murmured. "The building has him now." He turned away, his steps echoing in the empty hallway. In the apartment below, the man in the chair smiled. A new voice joined the chorus, and the building shuddered in delight. The police came after a neighbor complained about the smell. They found the apartment empty, though the air was thick with rot. My belongings were untouched, but my bed was made, as if I'd never existed. They didn't bother searching the apartment below. They said it was condemned, uninhabitable. They didn't hear the voices. They didn't see the man in the chair. But he was there, waiting. The landlord still lives in the building. He still rents out the apartments to men like me, men who are lost and alone, who hear the whispering at night. He knows the building's hunger will never be sated, and he is its caretaker, guiding each of us to our fate. As for me, I'm still here. In the apartment below, sitting in the chair, waiting for the next tenant to come down. My eyes are empty, but my soul is alive with the voices of all those who came before. Come down, I whisper. Come down and see. The building is always hungry, and there's always someone new to feed it. The next tenant moved in last week. I watched him through the floorboards, felt his confusion and fear as the voices began to seep into his dreams. He'll try to ignore them, but the building never stops calling. He'll come down to me eventually. I wait in the chair, patient and still, my hands folded in my lap, my eyes black and empty. When he comes down, I'll show him the truth, and the building will shudder with pleasure as it takes him too. We are all part of it now. The apartment below mine is never empty. It's always waiting.